people get scared, they go into fear and they close down. So if someone can just stay, it's just like, A, what am I supposed to learn about this? And then what can I do to get out of the hole that I'm in? And then, and it's just people, I always tell people you can do affirmations or you can do this kind of questioning, and start to make your brain, because there's three brains that people basically function from a primitive brain, a mammalian brain, which stores all your emotions and anything that's ever happened to you. And that's where you go when you go inside the box. Um, and then the primitive brain tries to keep you there, and the conscious brain that you say, like, I am healthy, vital, active, successful human being, and it's like one of those, that piece that you need to bring in and understand who's talking to who in your head, because a lot of people, we all have voices in our head. The idea is to control the primitive brain and the conversation it has.
Get ready to reclaim your life, discover inspiring stories, practical tools, and the path to true happiness. This is Reclaim Your Life with Irina. Let's begin the journey. Hello and welcome to Reclaim Your Life with Irina. Today we have a special guest, Dr. Pat Boulogne. She is a high performance mastery mentor coach, functional medicine doctor, a lifestyle strategist, and an international best selling author. She is also the CEO and founder of Health Team Network, a company that's dedicated to skyrocketing health, lifestyle, and mindset with superior science based solutions and programs, and where results matter. She's most passionate about sharing knowledge and solutions and making sense of challenges that result in even better outcomes that keep you on top of your game at work, home, or play. Everything you need to have better health and mindset mastery. Welcome, Dr. Pat. It is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much. I am really excited to be here, and I'm up in Adam this morning, so the timing is perfect.
Awesome, awesome. So please share with us in your own words, who is Dr. Pat?
Well, it's just like, someone once said to me I was high maintenance, and and I was complicated. And if you remember in the movie, with Jude Law and Cameron Diaz, the movie Holiday, and she says she's complicated and blah, blah, blah. And she said she was a wreck. Well, it's just like, I just think that that's what makes our soup so taste so special, and about what we do in our lives is like all those pieces of the puzzle that made you who you are. When, I come from a family of five, and there's four girls and one boy, and I'm the baby of the family. And I always got accused of being spoiled, and so since I got accused of it, I decided to start acting like it when I was growing up, and just saying, well, a spoiled child would. And the thing is that, you know, the fortunate part about it is that I had a really great father. And my father always had this, he saw something in me growing up that I didn't see, in which now when I look back, I have this really great vibe for and can understand that. So I'm always looking, and I was lucky too, because I had mentors who always said, what is it that you want to do? And we will help you get there. you know and so it's just like I was, I went down to visit him one time in Key West, and I was going to go visit a friend of mine in, someplace in Florida, but I didn't know the timing of it. He goes, well, if you can let me know, when you want to go, I can make sure there's a car here for you that you can use it. Because I didn't know how I was going to get up there, and I just figured all those things always sort themselves out anyway. And or you go or you don't go. But he just said, do you want the red convertible or the green convertible? And I'm going, oh my God, a choice, red. Um, and because he was a Mustang lover, so he had those kind of fun cars. But I was fortunate to have my father, who always told me that I could do anything I put my mind to. Um, and when I get stuck in my life, I always think to when he was trying to teach me how to play golf. And he gave me a hook, that was about maybe 7, 8 inches long. And he led me in a way that was, when I saw the hook, it reminded me to do specific things. Because when we know there's a way to success there, when we know there's a way to, grabbing back in our life and we lose our path or we lose our momentum, then when you think of those things that are anchors for you, they help you along. Do I still have the hook that he bought me? No. In fact, I think I threw it away right after my birthday. But it always stuck with me when I started playing golf and people were coming up to me and saying to me, like, wow, you're a great golfer. You could be a scratch golfer, it's with a little practice, and I'm thinking, where are they getting that from? And just out of the clear blue sky, people are like, man, they go, a couple of lessons and tidy that up, and so then I started teaching people about that hook, and because I had that was at the time when I had a practice on Cape Cod, and and people would come in with a lot of challenges, and somebody asked me how I did it in those challenges and how it's like, how did you handle all these other people challenges, and a woman came in one time and she said, asked me that same question. I got asked that question a lot, like, how do you do it? Because I was there at work 8 o'clock and I was seeing patients by 7:45. They were in rooms. I was ready to go. And, I just said, you get up in the morning, decide you're going to have a great day because it's a decision, and you go out and you do your best to do good, have fun, and thrive, and when you do that, that's contagious and that gets everybody else along on board also. And then she said one day to me, I heard you're getting divorced. How do you do it? You know, and I just said to her, you get up in the morning, you do with that same routine. So I was very, fortunate with that. And for her that day, that was one of those messages that propelled her to break free of her destructive, abusive marriage, which I didn't know anything about, because she disappeared that day. And when I was asked by the police, where is she? Do you know anything about where she might have went? And I just said, she just left. She said goodbye. And but I heard from her 6 months later, and she said to me, what I said to her was so inspiring that she went home, packed her bags with what she could put in her luggage, and she left. Because sanity to her, because I said to her, sanity is more important than money. And so she said, and I go, and that's just how I live. And so she, and she left 6 months later. She was in California, and I had to I wouldn't have told anybody anyway, because it's, like, client privilege type stuff. But she was, it's just like you never know what kind of inspiration you can shed with people, and so that's what I always hope when I have conversations with people, even if it's passing at the grocery store and talking about broccoli, and or whatever. It's just like I like the idea of being able to, make it easier for somebody else.
I love that. I love that story. You never know who you can impart, and
Hmm.
a little conversation
It's
you had kind of changed the person's life, and that's incredible. That she
like
just
a 180. It's
yeah.
just like, and Cape, when I lived in Cape Cod, Cape Cod's hard to leave. Cape Cod's really beautiful. There's a lot of beaches, and when the tourists go away, it's even better, and but my office never relied on summer people. So I was busy all the time. And so eventually got burnt out, and that's when I decided to sell the practice because I thought that um, it was time to make that 180 pivot to also. And when I put my practice on the market to sell it was, we actually hit market. We sold it within 3 months. And then I was out of there and I felt so free to be able to do whatever it is that I really wanted to do in my life. But what happened was I was skiing and a snowboarder hit me and I had two knee injuries, a neck injury, and which prevented me from doing my Quasimodo trip around the world that I wanted to do, to go visit other friends of mine who are chiropractors to go, come, you can work here for a couple months and then you can, go on to your next destination, and that never happened. And I don't regret it, but it would have been the time that at that point in time, because some of those countries have been on economic and or military strife since then, it would have been the time to go. But, I'm not going to put my life in jeopardy for, being someplace. And I'm sure those friends of mine are older. So I would put money on it that they're retired at this point in time, for sure.
Yeah, totally. What are you passionate about?
I'm passionate about seeing people get smart, and to come back into their own level of common sense. Because what I observed, and I've observed this like even years ago, it's just like what I observed is that people don't have common sense. They only know what's inside their box. And so, and if they, and when, crap hits the fan, they go inside the box. They don't say, like, okay, so is there another solution that makes sense, that's safer, that's simpler and quicker? They don't naturally think that way. I have a cartoon that has the line that says alternative medicine, and health, and the other line says surgery, you know, and like I can't remember the other word that's underneath it. But when some people get scared, they go into fear and they close down. So if someone can just stay, it's just like, A, what am I supposed to learn about this? And then what can I do to get out of the hole that I'm in? And then, and it's just I always tell people you can do affirmations or you can do this kind of questioning, and start to make your brain, because there's three brains that people basically function from a primitive brain, a mammalian brain, which stores all your emotions and anything that's ever happened to you. And that's where you go when you go inside the box. Um, and then the primitive brain tries to keep you there, and the conscious brain that you say, like, I am healthy, vital, active, successful human being. It's like one of those, that piece that you need to bring in and understand who's talking to who in your head, because a lot of people, we all have voices in our head. The idea is to control the primitive brain in the conversation it has, and ask what's a win-win, you know, and the mammalian brain, asking yourself, is this real? And if it is real, then what is it that I have to do? Because you might have learned a wrong thing real. And it's like unlearning that process. So I'm passionate about, like, upraising consciousness with people, and having conversations with them that they can get past some of those things that someone might consider childhood traumas, and and if you can do that, then you're free. When you make decisions, you're making them based upon knowledge that you can put in a step-by-step process that takes you to the next level up. And all of that starts back with having good health, and robust health and a robust mindset. I'm just going to close this window. They are on premise and doing lawns today. um, and they're loud. So
I can't hear
um,
anything.
oh, you can't. It's just like they're just around the corner from here. I can hear them. I know it's coming in the next 20 minutes. Um, so at any rate, but that's what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about people, like, eating well, and like, doing good, and thriving. And how they thrive is, and the five pillars of health go back to the great nutrition, reading labels, staying away from things that are GMO and have a lot of chemicals sprayed on them, and how you store your foods and get rid of the mold, to exercise. My 92-year-old patient was my second patient ever, even when I was when student clinic, she told me, I go, how do you do it? And she goes, well, Dr. Pat, you got to move or you're going to die. And that was true, for, especially for her at 92, when they changed her meds and she got dizzy, she became stationary and she passed away very shortly after that.
Oh, wow.
It was such a great learning lesson from that. And then you have to have sleep. You have to have good sleep. Your sleep hygiene's got to be great. The temperature of the room, it's just like where your bed's angled, and for feng shui purposes, and then having the positive mindset and the positive mental attitude, those carry you a long way when things get tough, but you got to have your health. And if you don't have your mindset, I keep on wondering, why do I keep on failing at, like, trying to lose weight? Or why do I keep on failing when I'm trying to, it's just like, get in this exercise regime? It's because your mindset's not there. You can have a good attitude about it, but your mindset's not there. And then having a proper posture is crucial also. And having that mindset so that that you are functional, in right side, left side, so you're making those decisions that propel you forward and keep you stationary and help you prosper, no matter whatever is going on in your life and whatever prosper means to you. But that's what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about, like, and if you are stuck, call me. I will get you unstuck. I just like, I have a very special technique that, that takes a look at what that means and how to get you from point A to point Z.
Amazing. Awesome. You're so right. It's all about our mental attitudes and how we
Hmm.
approach life. I also say to myself in the morning when I wake up, today is going to be an awesome day. And off
Hmm.
we go from there.
So, so you're doing what I tell people to do. Start your day on a positive note,
That's right. Yeah.
right?
What makes your heart sing?
What makes my heart sing?
Hmm.
Music. And seeing people have joy in their life. Seeing, like, I love having that moment when I'm coaching and I have a client and they're working through something, and then they have this look on their face that has like this, really, I could do it that way. And it's just like, I have a course right now that I'm relaunching, and it's all about facial exercise, but it's much more than that, because what that does is it's about self-esteem, it's about confidence, it's about getting into regimes that you are taking care of yourself, and self-love and self-care. Those are important. And what everyone says to me, and it drives me crazy, is at the end of the course, when I'm having people take pictures again so I can compare the ones before and after, we're so harsh on ourselves. We look in the mirror, we don't see any change until you have an oh my God moment, and you turn and you go into the bathroom like when you're like 42 and you're going, what the heck happened? I was just looking like this model, like, back in my 30s, and now I'm looking like I died, you know. And so when you have that peace and that happens, we just don't pay attention. So instead of being hard on yourself, it's like when you go to a doctor, you always have a reevaluation. So at the end of the course, they all said, no, 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 I don't want my picture taken. Again, I go, no, you got to have it, because you got to know where you made progress, and you have to know where you didn't. And you have to know where you need to pay more attention to, because that's where the customization of the program comes in. And so, I've had people, when they look at their post pictures and we go through them, they're like, wow, there is a change. There is, and like, oh my goodness, that's just so different. And what I call my poster child, Sandra, who's a semi-retired reverend, from out in Kansas, and she's originally from the Midwest, and she's such a Midwesterner. But she said to me, where I asked her, where did you find the most improvement? And she said, oh, my lip. That was her cool. That was her thing. Like when she looks in the mirror, she doesn't see anything else. She sees her lip. And so I said to her, "Did you check out the rest of your face?" I mean, her results, because she was consistent, are incredible. And then she popped on a workshop that I was having back at the end of January, and I didn't recognize her when the camera first opened. And I was like, I go, oh my God. She went from being 81-year-old, looking 81 when she first started, to looking like she's like around 70-ish after 9 weeks, to looking like she's 57 6 months later. And she looked absolutely incredible. Anybody I show those pictures to, and I'll be showing them shortly because I have a workshop coming up on the 10th. Um, you know, that it's almost like, are you sure that's her? But it was a screenshot during a workshop. So it's a little bit fuzzy because she was moving around. But it was such a great, the transformation was really huge. And so it's just like that, you know, that makes my heart sing, is to see people have those kind of results, and live them, and that's a good piece of the puzzle. And that's for anything. If someone wants to lose weight, getting, healthy, using those 5 pillars as a parameter. And then, also, what us, like, I love it when people know exactly where to start their health quest, instead of like following so many fads, like, find out where the glitch is, and you tonify the glitch, and you sustain the other parts of your organ systems so that they can sustain that, and they can help feed that and uplift you. That part of it's important.
Totally.
That's my story.
Amazing. What was the moment in your life that caused you to wake up when you suddenly realized you got to change something about the way you were living?
Well, one of those things is, when I sold my practice and I wanted to be virtual and I wanted to do that type of work, and that was like back like in like 96 or something like that. And nobody was doing that. So nobody who knew me, people who knew me, that was kind of an okay thing to talk to me about, but they just thought we were just talking, you know. And I'm going, no, this is a real, but this is actually a call. And so it was so far. My girlfriend always said, "You're so far ahead of everybody in doing stuff." So when COVID came around, the only thing positive I could see is for people who were trying to get off the ground and having a virtual practice and being able to communicate with people in that fashion. Other than that, I didn't see anything positive. And and also, the other positive about it would be that people had the wake up call that they really aren't as healthy as they thought they were, which is the reason why you would need me. But the piece of that is that the you know that turning point, was that, and that the struggle was before that, because after I sold my practice, I had an incredibly busy practice on Cape Cod, and when I sold it and I left Cape Cod, it was like, oh my God, it was just, I loved living in the city. I don't think I like cities too much now, but I like, I had the opportunity to be in Boston, 20 minutes to the airport, and living right on the water. So it was, very idyllic.
So what was the three biggest lessons you learned as a result of your wake up call?
Is that you got to take control of your life, and if you don't take control of your life, you can't let decisions that you need to make. If you don't have the right question, if you don't have, like, for instance, if you don't ask the right questions, you're never going to get the right answers. And if you're making decisions off those questions that you're asking, that you don't know the right questions to ask, and you're not getting the right answers, then you're weeble wobbling. And so, finding the right person that can help you, like, funnel that down. So in a quicker, simpler fashion, then you can get to that safer, quicker, simpler solution that I always talk about. And, but that's that piece.
Were there any other lessons? That for three lessons. So you told me it's taking control of your life and
Okay, the
finding
other
the right
lesson,
person.
okay, got it. We'll do two more is easy. The second one, I would say that, being incredibly mindful about what you eat, and eating clean, and drinking good water. Like, don't drink water from the tap. It all has atrazine in it, and it's a chemical that makes frogs hermaphrodites. So, and in humans, it affects our sexual organs also, and also is carcinogenic, but it's in our drinking water. So don't drink tap water. And, find a good filtration system. That's a reverse osmosis is a good one to do. There's one, just for information purposes, you can find it on my website under products. Um, and you can check out and read about it so that you can make a better decision moving forward, and find whichever one works best for you. Because some of them are really pricey, some of them aren't as pricey. And so that's another component. And the third component is, I think, sleep. Sleep is crucial to be able to think well and feel well. It's when your body has an opportunity to revitalize, you know, um, get ready for the next day. It detoxifies, it's where you have your dreams, and it's where, like, I teach my clients how to go to sleep with a problem on their head and how to let it go when they're sleeping so that they can, have a solution to their situation when they get up. So sleeping well is really an important thing. Whether you use binaural beats, whether or not you're using alpha waves, just don't use beta. And so that you can get better sleep, because then you can hit the ground running and you're more stable. And when you do things like that, it helps, keep your weight. And I'll give you one extra one, and the other extra one would be to hydrate. I talk about hydration all the time. Um, and so those are those pieces of the puzzle. And I know I talked about water system just a couple of minutes ago, but hydration to me is like one of the most important things people can do.
Totally. And you mentioned sleep. Were you not sleeping well before? You only discovered it after the wake up call? Or it's your
Well, I
recommendation?
always slept well, but what I realize is that as far as the sleep goes, what I realized is that when I did have something going on, and my thoughts would ruminate, you
Mhm.
know, then it would interfere with how much sleep. Then when you don't get enough sleep, it's as if you're drunk. It has the same, like people have the same cognition as somebody who's had a couple drinks. And so you don't make good decisions. Most of your car accidents happen because of lack of sleep. And so, for me, it's just like when, I realized that, I started staging my bedroom so that, I slept and I slept well. And I also did what I would tell myself if something was bothering me, I would get up and say, what is it that's bothering me? And is there something I can do about it? Then I got up and did it. I didn't wait till 8 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning, and if it wasn't, I just wrote it down or dictated something into my telephone and I let it go, and gave myself permission to go back to sleep because sleep is crucial. And and as you get older, it's even more crucial because babies sleep off forever. Dogs, they're puppies, dogs sleep all the time. And then like in a nanosecond, they can be up and like, where are we going? You're leaving the house without me. What do you mean you're going out? You're going grocery shopping? Take me with you. I'm going to where there's food. But that the sleep component of, that mental wellness and that is huge. And a lot of people, don't sleep. Like 2 nights ago, I was on the computer, so I had a lot of blue light. And I felt like I slept about 2 inches off my bed the whole night. So I never felt like I got into deep sleep, and I didn't check my watch because my watch monitors that kind of thing in the room. But having that deep sleep is where all the magic happens, and being able to like target and help yourself get into that deep sleep is huge. That's a piece of the puzzle. That's why I use binaural beats. I use a lot of alpha waves or theta. Thomas Edison used to sleep, and when you're going in from theta into alpha for sleep purposes, he would have a ball in his hand, and he would hold the ball until when he started to fall asleep, it would fall out of his hand, and then would hit the ground, and he'd wake up. Well, theta is when we have the most cognition and we're more and the most creative. And I think human beings by nature, living to your full human potential, always have that creative side to themselves.
Totally, totally. I remember that story, very fascinating how he was eliciting ideas from himself, tapping into the theta frequency, and then having that insight that we don't usually get when we are in a beta frequency, when we are just here.
Right.
Because we have so much noise, so much, they call it stimuli, that
Mm-hmm.
we need to turn off to be able to get to that insight. So I love
Right.
that.
Right. And there's a lot of meditations that are out there that help support that. Um, there's stuff that the Mind Valley people teach. And they teach the Silva method also. There's this, 7-minute billionaire sound wave that you sleep, and there's 7 words that you're supposed to say, but nobody knows what they are because you have to pay to get them. And I'm thinking it can't be, or 9 words, and so there's a lot of things that are out there that can support you. Some people, that when the transcendental meditation started happening and people were, influenced by that, and there was this big wave to do that. I had a lot of friends who did that, and they had a lot of you know, it was very easy for them to, do better, think better, feel better. And, by just doing meditation, that always intrigued me, but I just didn't have the time to learn it at the time. And so, and then when I went to chiropractic school, I had this guy who said, do you want to relax more, and you want to boost your cognition up, and I'm thinking I'm studying like, way too much, this can't take that long to memorize this much stuff. And so he did this technique on me, and he kind of weirded me out when I first met him. And his nickname was Farmer. And I don't even know the story behind that. But I made my girlfriend go with me, when I was doing this, thing with him, because I just kind of was just, like, what does he want me to do? And, I come from a suspicious neighborhood. So, and growing up and from, going into Detroit and being, in suburbs of Detroit. But a lot of the things that he taught me was very similar to the Silva method, of how to get into meditation. And there's a piece in like in the centering exercise that Silva teaches. There's a piece that, they talk about your physical and how to relax physical. Then they talk about mental and how to relax mental. Then they talk about being in your source. And so in your source is when you're in true alpha, and they do it by a 3-2-1 method. And then the second method, they take you at some point in time going into your true source, they take you or somewhere between 2 and 1 in that piece going when you're going down and being in more meditative, is that you can do this meditation and you will feel like you had an extra hour of sleep at night.
Yeah.
And if you do that the first thing in the morning, then you're waking up, feeling, better than before, and you kind of learn how to say when someone asks you how you're doing, if you say, oh, I'm okay, then your brain goes, okay, that's all you have to do today is just be okay. But if you say, I'm doing great, and I feel great, I am on fire, I'm hitting the ground running and all this other stuff, then your brain going, oh, I think I need to pay attention. So there is a certain technique which I just skips my mind right now, but what you do is you ask yourself instead of saying affirmations like I am blah blah blah, or like I will, you always want to do affirmations in first person. You want to do it in present moment. um and so, like, I am successful, not as I will be successful, because that means you're not. And so you want to have that concept of, like, being present now. um and so you can ask yourself questions like, why is it that I always attract people who only want to want to improve their health? Like, why is it that I'm very good at self-care? Why is it that I don't gain weight? And so in your brain, your subconscious, that middle part, the mammalian brain, will sit there and go like, well, let me think. Okay. And it starts to answer those questions for you, because when you have those questions, it's more positive and it leads you down a more positive path. So your experience, and you remember those positive experiences. And then when there's a conflict, the conflict will go away unless the primitive brain starts to chatter, and you just got to tell it to shut up. I mean, real simple. Just be rude, crude, and totally unattractive, and tell your lizard brain to shut up. The only time you want the lizard brain to be important is if there's 5 F's. It's like, and one of the F's is like, fright, tooth tiger, which would be someone pulling in front, like, if you equate that today, somebody pulling directly in front of you and you having to slam the brakes on. You want that quick reaction. Because the primitive brain is all about survival. It's like when you're hungry, you have to ask yourself, I'm really hungry. I mean, if you want to lose weight, you have to ask yourself, am I really hungry? And then if you like, well, I don't know. Well, then have an 8-ounce glass of water, and then come back a half hour later. And if you're still hungry, then have something to eat. But, like, and also learn what is a protein, fat, and carbohydrate so that you can piece that together. So when you eat your snack, it actually is acting as fuel for your body and can propel you forward.
Totally, I love that. And yeah, I like. I think it's called loaded questions when you say, "Why is it I'm such and such?" And
Mhm.
you kind of trick your brain, because let's say when you say "I am," if you're not really there, it kind of your brain's gonna say, "Nah, you're lying. You're not
No,
really
you're
there."
lying.
And
You're
when you do that, why or how come? You kind of open the door to possibility
mhm.
to pay attention on things maybe you don't even notice. And like you said, your brain goes and figures out and brings you those experiences that you
Yeah.
maybe have forgotten. And
Well,
then it becomes more true for you, as opposed to when you just say I am and you don't really feel like you are.
where your brain goes, your body follows.
Yes,
you
yes.
know and then and that's a Chinese principle that I learned when I was studying Chinese medicine. And it's true. I mean, if we think that something bad is going to happen to us, then something bad will happen to us, and we'll say, see, I was right. What you want to have, like, something good's going to happen. I can feel it, it's just around the corner, it's going to be today. You can find something that's good that happened to you. It could be just somebody who, do you ever go into a grocery store and people smile at you? How about returning their smile? I always think that when you have a chance encounter like that it's an opportunity to learn something that you don't know. or the something that you needed to hear that day. 'Cause you never know who you're sitting next to, and people dismiss that a lot. And so I was in a grocery store about a year and a half ago, and I was looking at organic broccoli and regular broccoli. And I was going, no wonder people are so confused. They look exactly the same. One's genetically modified and the other one's organic and actually has nutrition and nutritional value for you. So I'm going like, wow. And this one's sprayed with all sorts of chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, insecticides. And this one is organic. And so I'm thinking, I was standing there and this woman walked up to me and she said to me, now this is like if I was in Boston, people would just, excuse me, and walk away, or in New York, leave me alone, lady, you're crazy. Excuse me, I need some help here. But, I just looked at her and I just said to her, she goes, you look so pensive, and she said about broccoli, and she goes, can you, and I said, oh, it's very easy. Broccoli is like dating. And she said, oh, really? I said, oh, really? And I said, the broccoli that is traditional in GMO is the guy who keeps you out to 2 o'clock in the morning. You like party, you have way too many drinks, and you get home, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you look at the clock and think, I've got to get up and I've got to be out of here by 8:15 because I got to go to work all day long. And that person doesn't care if the covers get off of you or not. If you're freezing in the middle of the night, you're on your own. And so you're sleeping and you're up and they get to sleep in the next morning. You, on the other hand, who like choose the organic broccoli, is the guy who like makes sure he makes you dinner, covers you up. Do you want me to drive you to work today? Who goes out of his way to make sure that you have the nutrients and you have the life that you deserve, you know? And so she looked at me and she said, which one's the organic one? And I had it in my left hand. And I said to her, I go, this is one in my left hand. And she reached over and grabbed it. She goes, get your own, and winked at me and walked away. But she just said, and then she turned around, she goes, I'll never buy GMO broccoli ever again. And so, and I go, I didn't either. I was just, in my head, I was just curious about like, why do people, and part of it is because they look at the numbers of the price. But when you do that now, I mean, I do consulting in offices, and sometimes I'm telling people where they're leaving money on the table, in their businesses. And so, especially in the chiropractic PT office, massage therapy, this is where you're leaving money on the table, where you could, if you paid attention, and then they're going like, oh my God, you charge so much. I said, you're not looking, you're looking for right now. You're not looking down the road, because I had somebody I was trying to place for as an associate doctor. And if this person did what I projected that they could do, that would make this woman an additional 500,000 plus a year. And that's gross. So you have, overhead that would definitely chunk away a big portion of that. But I said, so they're worth more than 15% of gross, for sure. And so, and but she was going, oh my God, that's too expensive for part-time. They're not doing part-time, they're doing a job. If you think about it being part-time, then you're like, it's like that mammalian brain and the lizard brain winning out. So it's coming from a poverty consciousness, as opposed to like, wow, like let's put some food in this. If I want to make soup, I don't still want to drink hot water. I want this soup to be really good. And if I'm going to do really good, I've got to put the right ingredients in. So if you have the right ingredients, you can create peace. But you don't look at, say, oh, this is the soup. This is all I got right now. You don't look at that. You look at what it looks like down the road. And a lot of things we have in our life, I would highly suggest us to be better investigators to see like, okay, and then look outside the box, because those people are stuck in that box that they grew up in, and they're not looking out for outside solutions, which brings us back to where we started in the beginning.
You're so right. And I think you left a big impression on that lady who is never going to look at
Never going to buy broccoli organic, or probably any other organic food also, right? And and you have to think about like when my mother was, when I was growing up, we only had organic food. We had like, the tomatoes in the garden and things like this. And then that's when I can remember when Duncan Hines and fake potatoes came out. That's what always called them, mashed potatoes that, were instant. they tasted like cardboard. Even my dog didn't eat them, and that I think we lasted through one bag of that. And my mother ate them, but because she bought them, and she came from the Depression, so she was obligated to eat them. But I'm not eating them. And my dog didn't eat them either, and my brother didn't eat them, and so we were in a rebellion, and then you had Duncan Hines cake that tasted, plastic. I was in an airport because I haven't eaten anything like that in a long time, and we were stuck there. It was raining down cattle. It wasn't just like, when they say raining cats and dogs, I'm talking large animals. It was raining, and I'm trying to fly, an hour away to Cape Cod, and there's like they weren't letting us go anywhere, and for good reason. I trusting them, they weren't going to let us off the try to rain, to fly in something that was not going to work. And so I went and bought a frozen yogurt. And when I came back with the frozen yogurt, I took a bite of it and I went, this stuff tastes plastic, and then I had another taste of it. I went, I can't eat this. And I looked at the guy next to her. I said, you eat, sitting next to me. I said, do you eat frozen yogurt? He goes, I love it, And I said, you do? And I said, you like chocolate and vanilla combination? And he goes, yeah. And I said, here, you can have it. And I said, poison yourself. And so the guy next to me, because he was on the same flight that I was on, and going to Cape Cod at that time from Boston, and this is like a story of you never know who you're sitting next to, is he booked the New York Symphony globally around the world. And so even the shorter, smaller groups and that, so that person became a friend of mine. And he, like, when I had a Christmas party, he was in town. So I said, come, you aren't doing anything in Boston, get a car and come down to the Cape and come to this party. And he got me in for a private tour of the opera in Paris. So into the building, behind the stage, upstairs, downstairs. It was just, and that was all from the yogurt, and you never know who you're sitting next to.
This is so true. The synchronicities and
Yep.
serendipitous events that happen.
For sure. Even when I went to go listen to in Massachusetts when I was working up there in a summer, there was this place that was a very cool place to go listen to jazz. I mean, like one night you had people from the Jake Giles band, you had people from, Pat Metheny and all these really famous people who play different instruments meet at this place one night, and it was free. And I was talking to the woman next to me, and she said, I go, what do you do? She goes, oh, I just published my book. I said, what's your book? And the book is about, the goddess living outside of your body and, manifesting stuff like this. And she goes, what do you do? And I said, I'm a physician, and I go, I wrote a book too. And she goes, oh, what's the name of it? And so she goes in and she looks the book up. She goes, oh my God, I'm sitting next to a bestseller. Oh, and I just looked at her. I go, well, I'm sitting next to bestseller. Did you hit bestseller yet? And I said, and then what we did is, like, we exchanged numbers and we've been friends ever since then. You just never know.
I love it. What is your mission now?
My mission is to, I want to, leave information and knowledge in places that people can get it. So one of my big missions right now is I'm rebranding a course that is teaching facial exercises. Like I mentioned before, this woman, Sandra, did them, and she looks at least almost 25 years younger than she did when she started the program. And so I'm teaching people about that because I want to help them with their self-care and also their motivation for confidence and, doing things in life. Because when you feel good, when I feel good and I know that I look good, I'm on fire. You can't stop me. Like if something, like negative happens, I'm going, see you later, and you keep on moving on. So that's that one piece. But what enhances that even more is to know what the health and state of the gut, get a gut snapshot, and also know how you're handling toxins in your environment. So the nutritional component even boosts that even more. So that's what I'm working on, that piece of it. And then that leads into a more for people who, finish that part of that course with those two things together. Um, that leads them into a more bigger deep dive one-to-one. And then I have like a monthly call for like what I call a mastermind concierge so that people can get better information. Because when you have information, the right information, you can make better decisions. And that's important in any aspect of your life, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and financial.
I love it.
That's what,
Totally. Did you have
that's what I'm
a
doing.
did you have a hero growing up? Somebody you looked up to?
Sorrow. Like everyone like is my childhood hero, it's a cartoon hero, like or like kind of like not cartoon hero. Zorro was because he always did good and he always left his signature on everything that he did.
Yeah.
And as far as a live person, it was my mentors. They had when they were married, ended up getting separated and getting divorced. But I can remember my mother couldn't cook to save her life. And when she cooked meat, it was like your shoes had better texture, than any type of meat that my mother ever cooked. And I can remember going over there and they had New York strips, and I went, "What's a New York strip?" And they had shrimp cocktail. What's shrimp cocktail? My life changed forever. And because the realm of possibility of going like, "Wow, that's what I want." And so and it's just like, and I also led by example, and that anything was possible. And so and I can remember the first time I went to Europe, and traveled around by myself, and I was supposed to go with a bunch of girls and they all canceled out. My father said, "Well, no one's going to laugh if you don't go." And I said, "Why would anybody laugh?" I mean, it never occurred to me, that part of it. But my mentor said to me, "Listen, if you get in trouble, don't call your father, call me." you know and he goes, "And we'll figure it out." And so I always like, those people who have your back in your life, and have that kind of camaraderie are, they're crucial. And I learned from him is that, everything works out, and even there's a guy who came when I met him one time. There's a guy sitting talking to him. Yak yak yak. This is down in Key West where anything's possible. And well, this guy gets up and he leaves. And I said, "Rip," I said, "did that guy?" Because he just literally walked out. He didn't like go and pay. I go, "Do you think that guy is?" I go, "that just left." I said, I go, did he pay? Is he on your tab? And or do you want me to go run and get him?" Because my mentor at that time had a stroke, aneurysm, and a heart attack, and he lived 20 years in that state, in that condition. Um, and he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It all works out." And he goes, "Let him go." And he goes, "But no, I don't know him." I just went, wow. And he always says, he always helped people. He had a real big heart and he was incredibly generous. And so those are things that, that those are my heroes. And that's like they led by example, and they're good leaders in their own right.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Was there a book that inspired your journey? Anything that helped you change your life for the better?
Well, I know we kind of talked about this before when we first chatted, but I came up with a new book, you know, and because I can remember when if I read a book and it inspired me, I bought an airplane ticket. And so on the way going up to New York, when I was driving up there last week, I started reading. I've been listening to this book for a while, but I really got into it when I was traveling up to New York. And the book was by Marion Zimmerman Bradley. The Myths of Avalon is told by a woman. you know and so in that book you can see, like, things that I missed before when I read it around 20 years ago. But when I ended up finishing that book, I went to England for 3 months. And because it was inspired me. I wanted to go see, that aspect of it. So it just like was an expansive piece. The Red Tent is another book that I thought was it was inspiring. Um, and then, I always think, the book Think and Grow Rich, because, Napoleon Hill, he had a very interesting idea, and he, like, if he was alive today and had the technology that we have today, his thought process would be exponential. But he had to like interview people who are thought leaders and who are, big, like Carnegie and all these people that were alive when he was alive. So he made a trip to go visit these people to have interviews with them, and to learn from them. Then he shared their stories with people because that book's inspiring on another level. So I always think you got to do mind, body, soul kind of book of things that, broke that piece of the puzzle. And the other book is called Lick the Sugar Habit by Nancy Richardson. And Nancy Richardson, when I first started practicing, I read this book on the beach. No one walked by me. When they said lick the sugar habit, they kind of avoided my chair and walked around me, you know. But, and I said, if they only knew it was about nutrition and about not eating sugar, because sugar's poison. And so, and in the way that it's processed today, a lot of it's bleached and with et cetera. But but at any rate, she showed the connection with disease processes that we have in inflammation. And inflammation is the common denominator between all sicknesses that we have, or it just depends on where it sits. So the question is, where's that weak link in your body? And that's why, I talk to people about that weak link. And, but I've always said, like, don't eat sugar. Don't eat sugar, and but that's my book rendition. I expanded.
Awesome. I love that. You're so right. It's all about the inflammation. That's why we get sick, because our body is inflamed, because we crave the sugar and we kind of perpetuate the problem as opposed to
For sure.
switching things up.
Hmm.
What was the smallest thing you've done that had the biggest impact in your life so far?
Well, the smallest thing that I've done that had the biggest impact was making a decision. Um, and the thing that comes to mind is that my next, like, I lived in a typical neighborhood outside a suburb of Detroit at the time. And, I can remember the lady next door to me told me I was going to get married, have 5 kids, and I was going to live in a house just like my parents had, and I'm thinking, I don't think so, and I made a decision that day that, and it's funny because the metaphor is, the street was I-75, which runs from Flint all the way down to Naples, Florida, on the interstate, but there was a business one also. So the business one was just like literally, 3 houses and a parking lot to a grocery store, and then there's like, 4th Street, which was a business I-75. I said one day I'm going to get on that road and I'm going to go south and I'm never coming back. And I was like 13, 14 years old. And when I went to chiropractic school, I left my brother's house from that road and that street, and I went on business 75, and I caught up with the interstate, and I went down to Atlanta, Georgia to go to school to become a chiropractor. And so it's just like those little things that you say, with conviction. Sometimes we don't read, like, we say them. I would never wrote it down, but I remember that conversation so clearly that, the thought of like having 5 kids and driving them Monte Carlo, which isn't, I don't even know if they still make them. At that time was horrifying. I was just like, it was enough to scare me.
Yeah.
to, to do that. So, but that would be that piece, that one decision, given the right information, right? That you make, and that, it has a way to help you foster.
Yeah, it's like the lady you told about broccoli and
Yeah.
having compared to dating. So you had the same kind of conversation, and you
Hmm.
didn't want to imagine have a life like that. You wanted to change.
Yeah. If you're going to live, and if like the life expectancy in the United States is 78 years old right now, I'm thinking, whoa, I'm 70. I go, and I'm thinking, like, I don't think so. My goals is, and I see myself being 120. And so, and I'm thinking, if you knew that you're going to live that long, you would do other things that were going to make that would matter. So, one thing I teach my clients, which is an interesting process, is to draw 10, go into like, Microsoft Word or whatever and make a chart that has 10 across and 10 down, so you have 100 squares. And so if life expectancy is 78, then you start at the bottom and you mark off how many squares. Or you can start at the top and you can mark off, your age all the way through. And then what you do is then, you mark off, like your age and that, and you see the difference that you have left to make a difference and to leave your legacy, and to make an impact. If I was going by that chart right now, I'd only have 10 years. So I need to like up my game, based upon that chart and based upon the estimation that the CDC gives out for, the NIH gives out for life expectancy right now in the
Yeah.
United States. And I don't think 78 is like, I don't think 78 is I think it's a really low number
Mhm.
in that. But I could, then you see people, the people I know are doing other things like that they're doing to stay healthier. So, but someone who's not well, then and you can't have the self-fulfilling prophecy on that because you can't say, there's stories about people who were told that they're going to die like in 6 months, and the next thing you know, they didn't die in 6 months. They died like 8 years later. But it's that's where the mindset, pushes the health part of it. Because we talked about that before and about what and the robust health or the robust mindset, they have to go hand in hand. That's the first step, to get to where you want to go.
Totally, totally. I love that. What is your superpower?
I got a couple of them. My superpower, one part is that I have an incredible ability to make sense. I have a lot of common sense. That's a superpower, especially in today's time, but I'm very resilient, and I'm very resourceful. So, and, I just have this, and I'm very intuitive. I would have to say that the makes sense, resilient, resourceful, and intuitive.
I love that. Yeah, those are important ones in today's day and age, or any
Yeah.
time.
And I'm honest. It's just, I have a list.
Yeah,
But those are the ones that come to me when you first ask that question.
yeah. What do you want to create next? Any fun projects you're working on that you like to share?
Well, I am doing I have a workshop that's coming up on the 10th that I'm trying to get prepared for to present, and that's the facial exercise. It's called 15 minutes to rewind your face, to rewind, the clock, and then it's ageless vitality. Um, and there's a Facebook group that supports that that's open right now. It's 15 minutes to ageless vitality, rewind the clock, camera ready, and turning heads. And so that is my immediate project. And I'm still collecting data on for a book that I'm writing called Who Does That Anyway? And that's a book on people who have health hacks and biohacks that improve their life. I've been collecting information on that for about 2 years, and I'm probably ready to wrap up that piece because there's a lot of information, in what, so that's just a little bit. But the big project that I'm doing right now is I'm launching my piece next week, and I can more than happy share the link to be able to register for that course.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. Is there anything I haven't asked that you'd like to share?
Um, I just want to let you know how grateful I am about having this time with you today. It's incredibly it's like having, you know, I love the social aspect because I think what we lack a lot in the United States is the ability to be social for the sake of being social, you know, and so I love I'm grateful for the opportunity to have the platform to be able to share knowledge that can impact someone's life and that can change their life. So that's, I would just like to just express that gratitude.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. The whole purpose and point of the podcast is to bring back hope and also provide people tools to be happy inside by developing their physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual mindset, habits, things that help people thrive as opposed to just survive, so that they can go and follow their dreams. So that's the whole purpose behind this podcast.
But
And
we're in
by
alignment.
by
We're in alignment.
inviting guests like yourself who can share their own personal story of overcoming a difficult situation where they decided to change their life for the better, to share their journey, their tools, so it could inspire others to follow suit. Like you said, you never know who is listening or who is sitting next to you. So hopefully those stories can empower and inspire people to change, that they don't have to be in that box. They can
Mhm.
see there is a possibility, there are other choices, there are other avenues for them to explore.
For sure. It's just like if my father wanted me to be a concert pianist. And so my mother, when I got divorced, my mother refused to buy me a piano and told me to learn how to play the piano on this cardboard, and we can see how well that worked. And So that never really happened. And I did play the piano though. I learned it from the cardboard, like what keys to play for listening to, like for music. And I even performed in a concert based upon learning off the cardboard. But and I just, it was very, very frustrating dealing with my mother during those times. Um, so you know, the piece of that is when my father told me he wasn't going to pay for my chiropractic school because he thought that chiropractors were quacks. I'm going, you got a PhD or like a master's in, engineering, and he's very left brain. So for him, chiropractors weren't something that you go and do. So when I told him that I decided that I was going to go to chiropractic school, he goes, you're on your own. I paid for your education. I'm not doing, I don't, if you're going to go to, if you're going to go become an engineer, I would pay for your program, but I'm not going to pay for your program to be a chiropractor. I went, I don't care. I'm going, and I said, all I care about is being, I go, what's the worst that could happen? You could be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. As long as you got food in the refrigerator and a tank full of gasoline, who cares? As long as you're happy. And, that kind of like, he does like he's the one that created me. I mean, so but that challenge was on, and I went and I never looked back. And I had the really blessing in my career to help thousands of people change their lives, from structural to physical to mental to social, and even financial, because when you're feeling that good, it's hard to make a bad decision.
Totally, totally. Thank you. If
Yep.
people would like to connect with you, learn more about you, where would they go?
Well, if you're on LinkedIn, LinkedIn's a really good platform to reach out to me, and it's as my name appears on the screen, but all one word. And I'm on Instagram with that same one word, and then on Facebook, my business page does not have the same, but my personal page is the same. Ask Dr. Pat Boulogne, and the business is Ask Dr. Pat. Um, so looking for those kind of links, and that my website, healthteamnetwork.com. And those in Health Team, that on that website, you have a lot of ways to be able to reach out and find out more information about me. I'm a data dumper, so make sure you got time. So,
Awesome.
I love sharing knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on and sharing. Really love your story and your tools and the things and your mission, how you now empower people and help them get better
Mhm.
with
I do,
nutrition, with
and
all
I
those.
love to see people. I celebrate people's wins. It's just like I think we need to start celebrating when people have that in celebrating people's wins. When they win, we win. And it takes you. It's almost like fly paper. It's just like and it just pulls you along in that better direction.
Yeah, yeah,
It's true.
totally.
It's true.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I appreciate it.